This is Reah, and this is Just the Who of Us, where we talk about a range of topics, including life events, current events, spirituality, entertainment, family relationships, as well as answering listener questions and more. How have you been? I sorry, hold on.
No,
Okay.
it's yeah, no, it's good. It's just kind of reaching out and developing different product lines. Like, it's one is more individual based, and then I started kind of like very recently kind of started the process of developing like a corporate culture kind of group, which has a lot of the same similarities, and it's just, treating people like people instead of just numbers. So,
Yeah. Oh, that's
um, but yeah, and then book, my book is getting edited, and yeah, other than that, just plugging away, doing what I can do.
that's big though. That sounds like a lot of big accomplishments in I want to say a short time, but it's probably been what, maybe probably around this time last year that we talked.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you kept canceling, kept getting sick, kept couldn't talk.
Won't call me out like that. I swear those were not lies.
Slept in. I get it. It's cool.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to use my iPad for video and my computer for audio, which has been working well when I can get my iPad not to echo.
Well, I'm not hearing anything on my side, so
Okay.
if you're hearing it on your side, then I don't know what record. Obviously you're recording and I'm not, but I'm
Yeah.
not hearing anything on my side.
Okay. All right. It should be fine then.
Cool.
Okay. Um, well, I wanted to kind of catch up with you for a minute because it has been a while, and you know, just on like a side personal conversational level, I just realized recently that this last 2 years has been really hard for me, emotionally, and I took this year, I took at least 6 to 8 months. I didn't do hardly anything. But my business, but I wasn't podcasting. I was barely like anything that didn't have to do with this cleaning business. And it's because I didn't have the emotional capacity,
Right.
but it took me until very recently to realize like this has been going on for a while, before I hit this kind of point where I was like, I need help. I don't, you know, I don't know what I'm doing. So,
Well, I mean, it happens, and unless you're, Rogan or one of these guys that has like an entire company built around you talking, I mean, like I went through and completely, I took a good 6 to 9 months off, and I'm only recently starting to get into my podcast again.
yeah,
Uh, I renamed it, I rebranded it, um, just to kind of fall in line with everything else that I'm doing.
yeah,
Uh, and I already had a couple guests on. I got another guy today, and so, yeah, well, sometimes you just need that time away to, like you said, kind of just like breathe and be like, okay,
yeah,
I got one thing to focus on today instead of, I got 19 things to focus on today.
yeah. Yeah, because there was a point where I was scheduling like multiple recordings in a day, which was nice because for one podcast I recorded months out. Like it was great. But then it got to a point where it stressed me out because it was like I have so much to keep up with. So
Yeah.
I'm doing maybe one or two a day now, but I'm not. I was also trying to run two podcasts and do all this other stuff. And I'm not doing all that. Like it would be nice to have the other podcasts running, but I realized that I just need to focus on this one thing, and getting it situated.
Well, if it's like, there's no sense in having five or six that you're doing kind of part way. Like if you got one thing that's going really well, just focus on it and
Yeah.
just let it go and let it breathe. And you never know when it's like, as it grows and builds, people can come at you all the time and say, what about this? What about that? You'll have the
Yeah.
capacity to be like, no, I'm focused on this one, making it the best that I can.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. Yeah. Mhm. Well, I wanted to talk about, so it is the holiday season, and I wanted to really talk about men's health during the holidays. Uh, I like to think that people know for this podcast, like this podcast is for anybody to listen to, men, women, whoever, And one thing that I try to do on a fairly regular basis is utilize you for your knowledge and your focus and how I can bring that into like the mental health component for men who
Hmm.
listen to my podcast. I have another guy on here, and I know that we had talked about having you on kind of regularly. And that was just one of those things that just got away from me in, my hiatus. So
Hey, all is so easily forgiven, Rhea. You're
thank you. But I do, it's one thing that I like to utilize you for, like I said, is you're a man, and so you know what it's like to be a man mentally. Um, but specifically because of what you do in your own podcast on your own personal, professional, your career, the story that you have to tell. Um, it's what kind of drew me to conversation with you. Obviously I didn't know much about you before I met you, but your personal journey, it's similar to what my husband is going through. My ex-husband has been going through, even my son my oldest son on a level. It's something that I can relate to with the men in my life, but I'm not a man, I haven't experienced it. So having someone who has and who is I don't want to say come out on the other side because we're always a work in progress, right? But
Mhm.
someone who's gone through this transformative journey and can say, hey, this is how I started, this is what it was like, and this is the amazing point that I'm at now because you've got so many amazing things going on and you've reached so many people and helped people and brought them kind of through their journey as well. And that's what kind of drew me to you as a person when before I got to know you. So in the spirit of that, because in case my listeners either haven't listened to your episodes before or it's been a while, give us kind of a brief backstory of yourself and your professional journey, your personal and professional journey, but your personal journey that led you to your professional focus now.
Yeah, it's I mean, kind of what launched everything was just like most people, I woke up one January day like 7 years ago and looked in the mirror and kind of got the, that does not look good kind of feeling. Um, and so I was like, that's it. This is the year. I'm gonna get healthy this year. That was my resolution. And my health kick that year lasted 3 days. I live in Denver, so it's like it was cold and snowing on day four, and I was like, I'm not going. But instead of taking the that fourth day off and just kind of saying, I'll wait till spring, I'll wait till this. what I did was I really looked at like, why was it so easy to give up? Why was it so easy to just quit on something that I knew was important?
Yeah.
And I started going through, and like every good fifth grade elementary school English teacher tells us, ask why at least 5 times. And so I started that. Like, why is it important to me? And why is it? And ultimately, what it boiled down to was, my kids are 19 and 17, and I don't want to be the dad that we would go on vacations and I would just be like, yeah, I'm just going to go find a seat. Or,
Yeah.
I don't want to do this or that. Like I want to be able to be there not only for my kids, but with them and be active and be able to participate and do all these things. And my kids to this day, they are always my why. That's what gets me up every single morning. Um, so, once I figured that out, like, okay, then that daily, like, all I did was walk. I mean, I ate healthy and I walked.
Hmm.
And, I think the mistake that people make is they set themselves a goal of I want to lose X amount of pounds. I want to get to X waist size or dress size or whatever.
Yeah.
That's not what it's about. Like I set out, I didn't care what I weighed. I didn't care what pants I had to wear or something like that. My only goal was just staying active and getting fit so that I could go participate with my kids.
Yeah.
And by having that kind of I mean, it's a lifelong pursuit, you know? And so by doing that, I ended up, yeah, I got in great shape after a year. And, about halfway through, it's amazing what happens with, you start getting into the brain and all the neurons and stuff like that. But I
Yeah.
will tell you, the more active you get and the healthier you get, your brain will start behaving differently. And
Yeah.
mine did. And I started thinking about, this was very simple. It's not easy. I mean, it's always going to require work.
Yeah.
Anything does.
Yeah.
But it was simple. It's like I just get up, go for a walk, eat healthy. That's all I did. And just I was dedicated to that repetition of doing that every single day. And just got me thinking like it, come on, like there's other people out there that this is their biggest struggle. And I've seen all sorts of books on hitting your goal for this year and how to set a resolution and all this. It's like they get so complicated.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't want people to get lost in what chapter they're on of figuring out like, okay, what's next. I mean, the worksheet that I hand out for the people that I coach, it's 2 pages. That's it. And there's only like really like a few points on there.
Yeah.
And so it takes something that can seem so daunting and it makes it simple, which makes it easy to follow. You don't have to worry about what you're doing. Just focus on the work.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's absolutely perfect. You know, there's one thing that I've noticed with my own husband through his journey and with my ex-husband as well, that we kind of seem to think that our physical well-being and our mental well-being are these two separate entities, right? That we can be in this place mentally and still lose weight and still, reach our physical health goals. And it's just not realistic. For women too, I think that we go through different kind of struggles. Women, we want to lose weight in certain places, or there's, whatever the case may be, or for different reasons. Like, for a lot of us, it's for cosmetic, but it's also I want to lose this baby weight, or we have different goals or reasonings for our goals. But for women or for men, if it's cosmetic or if it's, well, I want to be able to play football with my kids or play basketball with my son, or the one thing that I talk about on this podcast every so often is the wellness wheel. And it's because it is really, it's such an important thing. Like, we can't take care of one component of our health if we don't cater to all of them. And, and, it's not something that has to be done all at the same time, because that's kind of hard too, right? Like, I need to change everything all at once, and that's not realistic either. But to think that our mental health and our physical health don't coincide, it's just not realistic. If for myself, for example, I've been trying to lose weight for a while now, but I haven't really been trying because I've just been focused on, oh, this part of my body, or, this or whatever. I want to change this, right? I want to make this look a certain way. But yet I'm still dealing with unresolved trauma. I'm still, emotionally drained and not sleeping well, or whatever the case may be. If my mental health is not in a better place, I'm still going to be doing the things that my mental health contributes to my physical health. I'm still going to be overeating. I'm still going to be consuming sugar. I'm still going to, the comfort foods. I'm not going to feel like getting up and exercising, so it's very important for people who are trying to change themselves physically to understand that your mental health is a huge impact on your physical health, and it's difficult to reach those physical goals when you don't incorporate your mental health as well.
Yeah, and with all of that said, I think the most important thing and something that you know you have to embrace fully is the most important piece is your mind. You have to be in the right mental state. Like, let's say it's business, right? And you're like, I really want to grow my business, but yet every day you're getting up and you're just, you're finding holes and you're knocking things down and stuff. That's it doesn't matter how good that widget that you've built because you're not leading it forward. And
Right.
so you really have to work on putting yourself in a mindset of dealing with some of those things that have happened in your past, but not dealing with them in terms of, like it's not the right term, but like it's not feeling sorry, but
Yeah.
it's not just, we all have histories.
Yeah.
And what you need to do is when you're looking back at your past, it's yes, this stuff happened to me, but what did I learn from it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that way those traumas and those challenges that you faced, they actually benefit you moving forward because you did look at it and yeah, it was painful and some people go through some stuff that I mean, God knows.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you can get to the stage where you can look at it and say, what did I learn from it? It's going to catapult you because now you're in that mode of constant learning and constantly looking for what's next, what's next, what's next, and finding that edge
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
keep moving forward.
Yeah. It's retraining your thinking. And one of my daughters lately, because it was very recently that I was just kind of in this point of like, eventually went to my doctor, and I was just like, look, I'm not okay and I need help. And one of my daughters was with me. And I asked her, do you want to stay in the room for this? If not, it's fine. If you want to, it's fine also. And she decided to stay in the room. And I let her because, well, she's an older teenager, but I let her because I felt like it was important for her to see someone who's going through something say, I need help, you know, and show her, okay, when you need help, these are the steps that it's good to take instead of just sitting in it. And I did sit in it for a little bit. I sat in it for a few weeks. And luckily it was only a few weeks because my family was like, there for me. And even to one point was like, hey, you know what? I think we need some space because you're kind of lashing out because you're hurt. And it's something that, you want to look back as a parent and be like, why would I ever lash out at my kids or my partner, or, anything and not do it intentionally. But sometimes you're so consumed by your emotions that you're just like, at everybody, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but one of my other daughters recently has been really kind of since that breaking point that I had has really been like positive refocusing. And sometimes in the beginning it was a little annoying because it would be like, okay, well, I'm fussing because you keep leaving this here or doing whatever, and I'm like, I don't want to be positive right now. I didn't say that out loud, but I'm thinking like, I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I'm not in a positive mood. But one day I kind of stepped back and I was like, you know what? I'm looking at this wrong because this 15-year-old child is sitting here and not even rude about it. She's not even like, hey, you need to be positive or, whatever. She's just like, so guys, we're gonna have a great day today. And but like speaking these things into existence and being positive in a time where her mother is being a little negative or easily frustrated or, kind of thing. And it's just like the power of positivity. And sorry, I thought somebody just fell. um, uh, she was in this atmosphere, of this person who was being negative, and she's like, you know what? I don't want that. I want to have a positive day. And she started speaking that positivity and kind of changing, even though it was a little reluctantly from me in the beginning, because I was in that space. I'm like, I admire that. I really admire that you at 15 can find a way when your parent is being negative, your parent is frustrated, and it's because they're going through something, and you find a way to respectfully change the tone of that environment. At 15 years old, that's amazing, and I really look up to her for that. And so, it's something that I've been trying to do myself. Like, you know what? Just take a deep breath. This is not even that serious. Yes, I have to tell you not to leave your pan in the sink, but you're alive and you're healthy. You're here annoying me. And I'm grateful for that.
Yes, I'm grateful for all the little annoyances. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, my older kids, they're in their early to mid 20s and they're moving out on their own and it's like, okay, well, as silly as this might sound, like I don't get to see they're moving like the beginning of the year. I'm not gonna get to see one's moving to Indiana, which I support. But I'm like, I'm not gonna see that kid to bitch at him about some minor thing. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, and all you can do is just look back and be like, look, you, myself, anyone with kids, it's like you do the best that you can. You give the
Yeah,
kid every tool possible to live a decent, respectful adult life.
yeah,
And at some point, you just got to be like, go do it. And,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
if you go and visit and there's pots in the sink, I'm sure you'll have a little comment, but it's like,
Oh, it's not just my sake. No.
yeah, but it's at some point you just, you know, you've taught them all the lessons and given them every tool, and you know,
Yeah,
they got to stretch their legs too.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's something that it made me a little down in the beginning, but I'm like, that's what they do. I had to tell myself this because mind you, my son is 24 and I've been with him since I was 14. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like there's that one was a little, and then my second one, I've been with her since I was 18. So it's like, oh, okay, but I get it. It's on a good terms. It's not like nobody's been kicked out, nobody, you know what I mean? Like they're moving because they feel like that's what they're ready to do, and I support it. So but but yeah, it's something I had to kind of adjust my reactions in that regard too. And now I'm just like, okay, well, you know what? I can finally have this dining room back. Because when
Right.
we bought the house, we remodeled and we turned a dining room and like a second den into bedrooms. So now I'm like, oh, all right, you know what? I can get my dining room table out of my kitchen and put it in the actual dining room. And now we can have like my husband and I can have this like our own den, whatever. We're gonna make it fun, and that way my brain can process it in a fun way and not like a oh my God, my kid's sleeping.
Right. Exactly.
But so I did my newsletter or my blog for November touched on three areas of focus for the holidays. Three areas of focus where we s- we seem to have the most trouble. And those three were finances, addictions, and kind of falling in with the crowd. Um, I'm gonna pull it up real quick just to make sure that's right. I'm pretty sure that's good. So I did kind of poll on Facebook and I was like, hey, what would you guys like to read about? And that was like the biggest response I got was like coping with finances, addictions, and something else. Um, oh no, okay, just kidding. It might have been October. Yes.
That's
Okay.
that's kind of like the holidays. It's fine.
So okay, so my November blog, my October blog was about three tips, three tips for navigating holidays, and for three areas of focus. One was setting boundaries, one is managing expectations, and one is creating and managing traditions. Um, I, One of the reasons I did this is because I feel like starting in October, for those of us who celebrate Halloween, it kind of, and it's like that transitioning period between the back and forth between hot and cold if you live in the South. So
Mhm.
I don't know if it's like that there, but here it's like all the way through December. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but through November for sure, you're going to have 45-degree days and 90-degree days. It doesn't make sense. But October starts that kind of up and down. And for some people, I know that it, some people have seasonal depression. And some of that is triggered by finances, whether, and so I thought October, November, December would be good to talk about how we can kind of manage some of these things that may occur through the holiday season, that can negatively affect our mental health. And October's was set boundaries. Uh, you know, I feel like during the holidays, there's a lot of expectations to attend things. Sometimes we can't afford the travel. Sometimes we just don't want to go, and that's fine. The second one was managing expectations, especially with time and finance, because people feel like, again, they are sometimes obligated to put their time and their finances in the things that we just might not be able to do. And that's okay too. I have planned a really fun Thanksgiving for my family. This Thanksgiving is going to be different because my grandma's not here. We usually go to South Carolina to see my father's family, and we're not doing that this year. Everybody has different things going on. Same with my North Carolina family. Everybody just kind of has stuff going on. And then, so I say, you know what? It's fine. It wasn't fine at first. I was really emotional about it, but me being upset isn't going to change it, right? So I just laid out a really fun day for us. It doesn't involve me spending a lot of money on food, activities. It's really inexpensive stuff and stuff we can do, and I'm meeting my own expectations of time and finance. Um, and then the third is creating and managing traditions. So, again, with my grandma not being here, we won't be going to her house for Thanksgiving or Christmas. Christmas is, we always go to my grandma's house. And this year, yeah, that's not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think we're all. So it's one of those things that I'm kind of like, okay, I've got to wrap my head around it and create our own traditions. It happens when the matriarch of the family passes, the family kind of goes and does their own things within their own households and whatnot, and
Yeah, and
you
and
know,
and like you're saying, the traditions and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, that I'm sorry to hear that, you're going to be missing a piece of that. But at the same time, it is an opportunity for you to create something new. And that
yeah,
happens all the time, It's
yeah,
like as parents have kids and then those kids they have kids. It's like each individual family wants to start to have their own thing, and
yeah, yeah,
some of them can be conjoined with what was existing, but some of them won't. And you might be like, hey, look, the day before Thanksgiving we're going to start a new tradition and this is what we're doing.
yeah,
I mean, I'm pretty sure, I know I don't, but we don't live in a castle that's like goes back hundreds of generations, built in 1292. Um, so we just you create your own family's identity and your own traditions, and
yeah, yeah,
as you grow up, I mean, kids have different interests, just like you have different interests from your parents, and it's
right,
like
yeah,
the fact that you're talking about, getting all the food and having activities and games, that's an awesome tradition to start,
yeah, yeah,
and you create it from there. And I would
yeah,
encourage you as well, like especially this year, like actively seek feedback. What'd you guys think? Do we want to do this
yeah,
next year? Do we want more games, less games? Because especially like you said, you got a couple kids that are into their mid 20s. It's who knows, they might be starting their own families. And it's like, if you can kind of anchor it and be like, look, we took the feedback. You guys said you wanted this. This is what we're doing now. And
yeah,
we'll adjust and adapt every single year because then they're involved in it. And you're helping create a tradition with you and your family that
yeah,
is going to pass through to them and their families.
yeah, yeah, 100%. It's it's kind of shifting into where my mom is now the matriarch of our family, and she will be kind of moving up to take, where my grandma was in her family. And yeah, it makes a lot of sense when you say that, kind of like things are just shifting, and that's what happens, like so it's normal. As far as that's my perspective from being a woman, and the matriarch of the family is the one that held it together, and now the family is kind of splitting, breaking off, and doing their own, focusing on their own matriarchs. My aunt is the matriarch of hers, and my mom is the matriarch of ours, and and that's what it is. And
And I
but
would like
mhm,
what you just said, like, breaking off. It's not breaking off. It's taking what was one tradition, and now it's just adding to it, but in maybe two different locations.
yeah,
Nothing's breaking up. There wasn't like, I'm assuming there wasn't like a, fisticuffs or anything at the family event last time, but
well, there was a fight at the funeral, but that's
but
a that's
it,
another conversation.
yeah, well, I'll talk to you in March then. Um, but it's unfortunately a lot of times when we lose something, it doesn't have to be a family member. It can be just a loss of whatever.
Yeah.
But we tend to dwell on the loss
Hmm.
instead of looking at it and saying, okay, yes, this is no longer happening this way, or this is no longer working this way. But that means we get a fresh start, and now we get to create X.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
you're just, it's taking something that humans just like to dwell on the negativity of stuff,
Yeah.
but do different and create positivity out of it. And you can look at it, and I mean, I would celebrate it with your family. Like, hey guys, look, we're not going to grandma's. We got a new thing. Here's what
Yeah.
we've got planned. And I'm going to ask you for feedback, because if we need to adjust, we're going to adjust, because this is not, like you saying, this is not your dad and I, or this is not us creating this for you. This is all of us creating this together. And that
Yeah.
way they're involved, and it's just going to be better because they're involved in it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Kids, teenagers, young adults, but specifically kids like to be involved in things instead of everything just happening around them, and like not getting this say. There's certain things, of course, that I'm like, no, this is what it is, and you don't get an opinion in it if it's pertaining to your health and safety or something, but
Mhm.
they like to be, I want to be a part of this instead of everything just kind of going on around me. I know that from my own childhood and from conversations with my own kids. And I think that sometimes when we have things going on in our lives as parents, as adults, as aunts, uncles, grandparents, whatever, a lot of times it's easy to just have everything going on in the kid's life around them and not, hey, what do you think about this? What could we change about this? What could we add? And that is something that's kind of, not kind of, it's been helpful to me with my emotional journey lately, my mental health journey, kind of talking to my kids about certain things. Um,
Mhm.
because they have different perspectives than us. They haven't been tainted by the world so much, so to say, and their opinions are really, they can really be eye openers. Or, hey, like I didn't even realize I was doing this, or I didn't even realize that this wasn't working. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a fresh set of eyes from someone that hasn't gone through, having to deal with it so much. And
Yeah.
that fresh perspective sometimes is like, has us as parents like hitting ourselves in the head going, why didn't I think of that? Because
Yeah.
it's to a kid sometimes that's going through it, they just look at it and they state the obvious. Why don't you
Right.
just do this? And all of a sudden you're like, yeah, why didn't we do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's but
Yeah.
I mean, some of the other things that you were talking about, like the managing expectations in terms of like time and travel and stuff like that. I mean, that's where you got to just back up your calendar a little bit, back it up till September, and say, okay, here's the 3 or 4 things that are set. Christmas here, Thanksgiving here.
Yeah.
How these are set. These are not changing. I don't care what happens.
Yeah.
And then look at it and say, okay, there are some free weekends or there's some free time that I'm available, but keep in mind, like you said, just because someone asks, they'll respect you more if you say, I wish I could, but no, than if you
Yeah.
said, I'd love to, and then you don't show up.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So just be smart. And part of that has to be like making sure, especially during the holidays, like allocate some time just for yourself or
Yeah.
just for you and your kids or whatever. And we've everyone's had, long years and going through stuff and dealing with a lot and everyone's kind of looking to the end of the year and it's take some time in there during this holiday season and just take some time for yourself. um you know Whatever, go get a massage, go get a haircut and a fresh shave, and or go spend a weekend where you're like, I got no plans. All I know is I'm in the mountains, I got snow falling, fireplaces going, I'm good.
Yeah.
But take that time and allocate for it. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that can become one of your like, this is happening. And I don't care if Billy down the street says we're having this amazing party. No, my time is allocated. And just be smart about it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and you do the same thing with your finances. Just
Hmm.
know going in and just say, okay, I've got X amount of to spend set aside right now comfortably. I'm good.
Yes. Yes.
And, and I've got this many people and, however you allocate it, and then just stick to the allocation. No one's going to say anything to you if it's like, oh, gift was better last year. It's like, well, it might be better next year, but
Right.
based on current situation, here, I mean, people are, for the most part, people during the holidays, they're thankful for whatever they get. And
Right.
so,
Yeah.
but just back your plan up and just set it up, know what you're going to spend. Don't break that. And it relieves all the stress from it. Because all
Right.
you're doing is looking at your list and go, okay, I've got $15 for Aunt Bill or what, or, Aunt Billy or whatever.
Yeah.
Got her this, check. That's not stressful. That's accomplishment.
Yeah. Yeah. Last year we probably spent maybe $1,000 on each kid for Christmas. Absolutely ridiculous. I say we, but most of it was my husband because I just think that's a lot for one person. But it was like the things they wanted, or maybe a little bit under 1,000, but the things they wanted were expensive, and he wanted to give them a really nice Christmas, so that's what we did. And I told my kids this year, I said, look, we're gonna do Secret Santa or Dirty Santa, one of the two, or White Elephant. Some people call it different things. That's what we're gonna do this year because I don't have $5,000 allocated to spend on gifts, and I don't want to. Quite frankly, we've
Right.
got an almost $3,000 mortgage. That's a whole house payment and a half, and I'm not doing it. So I said, we'll do that Secret Santa or the Dirty Santa or whatnot, and they were like, cool, like, all right, I'm excited. It sometimes we have higher expectations than because of what we think other people's expectations are. And when it comes down to it, especially if you teach your kids the value of their money and the value of their things and family, they're not gonna pitch a fit because you don't go as extravagant. You know what I mean? And if they do, well, then that might be a conversation you want to have with them. But I think that really, a lot of times as parents, we want to give our kids so much that we kind of create in our heads that we need to do certain things. And I'm speaking to myself too, that, and really we don't. We really don't. And, that's fine. You'd be surprised at what they would be just as excited about.
Well, like you said, I mean, you looked at it as, a negative, hey, this is what we're going to do. And the kids looked at it as a positive. They're like, that's cool. That sounds fun. And
Right,
also,
right, right.
your perception changes on the whole
Mhm.
thing because you were looking at it as, God, I'm really sorry.
Yeah,
Whereas they're looking at it as, this is going to be awesome. This will be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And
right,
also now
right.
you're like, I'm the smartest mom ever. That's right.
I should have done this sooner.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I did that with both sides of my mom's and my dad's family. The last couple years, I was just like, hey, because there's 30 of us in each family, in on my mom's and my dad's side. So it's like instead of us buying, I don't even know, like however, let's just do I mean, if you're buying only one gift for each person, then you're automatically buying thirty gifts. If you're spending $10, if you're only spending $10, you're spending $300. That's $600 plus not even including my own household, you know? And so I brought it to both sides of the family. And plus, the kids were getting a little older. We only had maybe like one little kid in each side of the family, and they were both like, yes, that is great. Because, for one, let's focus more on the spending the time together and being together as a family. And even if you go to the dollar store for every little gift or all the kids in one of my two cousins, all their kids had a favorite candy, and that's what they wanted from me every year. And I think there was one year we did something different and they didn't get it, and they were like a little bit disappointed. Not at the fact that, oh, I didn't get the candy, but they're like, oh, that's what that's what we're used to from her. But you
Yeah.
know,
Where's my candy corn?
And my cousin is like, no, they look forward to that every year. Because I was like, well, maybe I should do something different this year because I had done it. It started when I was on food stamps, and I could use my food stamps to buy the candy. And then I got off food stamps, and they were like, no, but we still want that. We still want that candy. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I was like, one year I was like, well, I'm gonna do something different. Like, tell me the things they like individually. She's like, no, no. They want that candy. I was
Yeah.
like, all right.
Well, and that's, and you never know sometimes what a kid especially or a family member or whatever, like where they see value and where they find
Yeah.
that, the more connection, it's like not everyone needs like a brand new phone or a new headset or something.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's as easy as a bag of Snickers, and
Yeah.
that becomes that becomes like a tradition for them. Like
Yes. Yeah.
every single year, my Aunt Rhea. would buy me Snickers.
Hmm.
And you're like, and it becomes, and you never know where those traditions come from, but when you find,
Right.
it's like,
Yes.
hold on to them.
Yeah.
And, you know, and you're right. It's holidays are about the time that you get to spend.
Yeah.
And the more that's why it's like the more involved you can make everyone that's there, especially as they get older, it just makes it that much better because everyone feels like they've got their little bit. Someone's like, I brought the cornhole game, and someone else is like, and I found this recipe for stuffing, so we're gonna try it.
Yeah.
Someone's like, I brought fish because I don't eat turkey or whatever it is, but
Right. Yeah.
everyone
Yeah. Yeah.
has their involvement, so they have their own ownership in it. And
Hmm.
then, as people are leaving, you just ask, like, hey, favorite, least favorite,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
take a notebook, write that stuff down, and then next time it'll get even better.
Yeah. 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 Well, I think that's about all the time we have, unfortunately. Um, but I appreciate you coming on and bringing your insight, and I always love the value that you add to the conversation. So I'm glad that we got to do this again, and
Yeah,
let everybody know where they can find you.
yeah. The easiest way is just if you have questions, want more information, anything like that, just email me at info@project9life.com and literally just put in the subject line, do different. And I'll
Perfect.
connect with you, I'll reach out, and we can discuss, like, what your challenges are, what your goals are. Because ultimately we all are here to live our best life,
Yeah.
but very few of us get a chance to. But it's not easy, but it is simple. And it's just a few key things that that's how I help people, is just that little key that unlocks, like, all of a sudden the lights come on and it's like, oh
Well, I did not think of this.
yeah, why did I think of that? My 5-year-old said this. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.
All right, see you, Rhea.
Check us out on YouTube at Reah Higgs, ReahHagues. You can also keep up with us on Instagram at Just the Who Podcast.